Good morning and welcome to the Blue Earth County Board of Commissioners meeting of December 20th, 2022. I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the agenda review.
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda today.
Move to approve the agenda.
Vance moves.
Second.
Second by Patty. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed carries. Next we have planning and zoning. And Garrett? Good morning.
Morning, Garrett.
PC 39-21 is a request from Custom Craft Homes LLC, which is a request for a time extension for Dogwood Edition. The property is located in the northwest quarter of Section 22, South Bend Township. Staff presented the report. There was no public comment. Members of the Planning Commission indicated support for the request. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted to forward a recommendation for approval of the request to the County Board. And the Board action is the passage of the resolution based on the recommendation of the Planning Commission.
Okay. Any questions?
Public hearing.
Yeah. I know. I was going to say I had to find. Okay. We have the public hearing, and so anybody wishing to come forward to discuss PC 39-21 can come forward at this point. Again, if there's anybody wishing to speak to PC 39-21, please come forward to the podium. And for the third time, anybody wishing to come speak on the PC 39-21, come to the podium. Okay. Hearing none, we'll bring it back to the board.
I move approval.
I'll second
Kip
that.
moves approval. Vance second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed carries. Okay, then we have PC 26-22.
Yep. PC 26-22 is a request from Scott and Gretchen Cords for review and approval to amend an existing feedlot conditional use permit. The amendment will modify an existing condition to reduce the site acreage from 40 acres down to 10 acres and to allow the house to be separated from the hog barn parcel. Both modifications will meet the standards of the Blue Earth County Feedlot Ordinance. The property is zoned agricultural and is located in the southwest quarter of Section 16, Decoria Township. Staff presented the report and there was no public comment. Members of the Planning Commission indicated support for the request to reduce the condition that required a minimum of 40 acres to 10 acres and to remove the condition that required the house to be attached to the feedlot parcel. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted to forward a recommendation of approval to the County Board based on the findings prepared by staff and with the amended conditions recommended by staff. The Board action is the passage of the resolution based on the findings and conditions recommended by the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thanks, Garrett. At this point, is there anybody wishing to make a comment on PC 26-22? Come to the podium. If anybody wishes to speak on PC 26-22, please come to the podium now. And we'll give a third time. If anybody wishing to speak on PC 26-22, please come forward at this time. And hearing none, we'll bring it back to the board.
I would move approval of the
Okay.
conditional use permit with the findings prepared by staff and the conditions outlined by staff.
Second.
It's been seconded by Kevin. All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed carries.
Thank
That
you.
does it. Thank you, Garrett.
Thanks, Garrett. Have a good day.
Next, we have the energy savings agreement and with McKinstry, and Josh is take care of that. You bet.
Also like to call it to attention that we have John Neville from McKinstry and Bob Long from Larkin Hoffman. And I'll talk a little bit more about their involvement here in a moment. What we have with this agreement is our energy savings agreement with McKinstry, and this is to implement the congressionally directed spending that we were awarded this last year by the federal government. The total amount of the project is a little over $5.4 million, with $4.33 million coming from federal funds and a little over $1 million coming from county funds, which is at an 80-20 split. Just a reminder that the project consists of LED lighting in really all of our buildings, advanced building automation in the historic courthouse and library, roof mount solar and geothermal heating and cooling at the planned public works building, as well as 20 EV charging stations across the buildings. This has been a long process. We started this over 18 months ago, and probably in the last 8 months we've been working directly with the Department of Energy. And I just really have to thank both John, Bob, and Megan Knight, also from Larkin Hoffman. And we were told back in May that this turned into a 50-50 funding split, which was not going to be workable for us in the county. And through the persistence of both Bob, John, and Megan, and Laura with McKinstry, we're at where we are today. We don't have the final word from DOE that we're at an 80-20 split, but they have given us their word that it will be an 80-20 funding split. They're just waiting for some waiver paperwork to come through the DOE, which we're expecting yet this year that we'll have that. So once we get that done, we'll be looking at starting this project. We're hoping in January to February we'll be starting with the first phase of LED, getting to the building automation, and then a little later in the year we'll be looking at EV charging. And then once we get to a little further along on the Public Works building, that project will come next. So that's where we're at today, and I would respectfully ask that you approve this agreement going forward.
Okay, thanks, Josh.
I would move to approve.
Vance moves the
I'll
project,
second.
and second by Patty. Any discussion from the board?
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chair, just a comment, but thanks, Josh has been working extremely hard on this too, so thanks for getting that back to the 80-20. Because that was very frustrating when we got that language and found out it was 50-50, and we're making a decision on 80-20. So thanks for reeling that back in, and because I think this is going to be a good product, and this will keep some local contractors busy and be good for the county. Thank you.
Anything else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Thank you, Josh. Good work.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Did they want to talk?
Oh, I could.
You know, they drove all the way down here from the cities. I didn't know if they wanted to say something
Say
or not.
something?
No? Well, thanks for all your work.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity.
We should also say thank you to the 2 U.S. senators who helped us file this.
All right. Okay, next we have then Sheriff's Office. Brad? Fee change. We got the retired and the new.
Yeah.
God always brings you on the back up.
Welcome, Brad, and welcome, Jeff.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Good morning, Sheriff. Congratulations, Jeff.
This is about our fees. The fees are revenue that we collect, come into the sheriff's office. We haven't visited them in quite a few years, and with the changeover with Sheriff-elect Jeff Worcel coming in, I was putting the list together so he would have an idea of what all our fees are out there between the jail and records and civil and stuff. And we decided, looking at them, that some of them we probably need to bump up. They've been pretty stagnant over the years, and checking with other counties around, we're kind of bumping up to get in the kind of same match with them. I'll start out with the jail, and I'm just going to highlight or talk about the highlighted ones. I think they're highlighted on your copies. And the fingerprinting cards, we do a lot of civilian fingerprintings for different people in career-based adoption papers, stuff like that. And it takes a lot of our staff time doing those prints. So we want to bump up the fingerprint card for each individual. If they provide a card, bump it up to $20 from $10, and if they come without a card and we have to provide the card, then we're going to bump it up to $30. The other one is, this is kind of a statewide issue. If you've seen KSTP and some of the news stuff coming out of the metro area, Scott County, the 48-hour rule involves inmates that have been committed by the courts as mentally ill, and the 48-hour rules per statute, the Department of Human Services Commissioner has 48 hours to get them out of our jails and placed in a facility somewhere for treatment, therapy, or whatever their needs are. Due to the lack of bed space throughout the state, these, I don't call them inmates anymore, I call them patients, because most time all the charges are dropped and they're just waiting a transfer to a mental facility, and they're sitting in our jails for up to 60 to 70 days, and they should not be. They should be out of there in 48 hours. I understand the issue with the short beds, and they can't find beds to get them out. So with that, back in 2018, I think it was, I started billing the commissioner for per diem beyond the 48 hours. I've yet to collect a dime on it, because their issue is they don't have a budget to pay that out of. And my response is then go to the legislature and get a budget for that, but that has not happened yet. A long story short, I've met with all our representative senators, and they agree with me, and still the bills aren't getting paid, and so I want to increase these high-intense supervised people that are in our jail. They cause a lot of problems, and quite frankly, I think this is some of the reason why we have some of the turnover in our jail of retaining jail staff. It's because these people are hard to handle. You know, when you have to deal with them and you serve them their lunch meal or a meal, and you open the food port and get feces thrown on you, you know, some people just can't handle that, and things like that happen. I think they're burning and stressing our jail staff out to a degree to where, you know what, there's other jobs out there to buy. So I want to increase that fee. Right now our per diem fee has been $60 a day. That kind of fell in line with the 5th District sheriffs. We got a lot of smaller counties in our 5th District. So we kind of all went on the same page, and we're at 60, but I want to increase this high intense and 48-hour rule to $300 a day, just because of the amount of supervision it takes to handle and manage these inmates. The next one, our off-duty detail.
Sheriff, can I just ask one quick question on that? So you're getting paid for the 2 days, or not even getting paid for the 2 days? You're not getting paid for any of the days?
Anything.
Okay.
After the 48-hour rule,
That's when the fee would kick
dime's
in.
on us up to 48 hours.
Oh, okay, all
after
right,
commitment.
all right.
After that, the dime should be on the state.
And then you're not getting anything out of them.
No.
So it could be 600 or 5,000, it wouldn't matter.
Right, right.
At least if you got a number that if they do start paying it,
Right.
we'll have some resources, we'll have a policy in place.
Yep, I
Have you
keep the
kept a
paper
running
trail.
tally or not?
Pardon me?
Have you kept a running tally?
I do have it. I've got every bill I've sent, copy, and every letter I've sent, and every response I've gotten back. I've saved.
Do we want to know what that is?
No.
Probably not today.
Well, thank you, Sheriff, I just wanted that
thank you.
clarification, because I thought if you were collecting some, it made a lot of sense to collect. But
No, we're not
So,
collecting
no.
the dime.
But now we're ready to go if
Yeah.
we ever do start getting.
The last meeting I had with our area representatives and senators, it was kind of left up. Luke Fredericks was going to take it
Okay.
on and write a letter to the Commissioner Harpstead and get something rolling. So
Okay.
you know, it's not just Blue Earth County.
No, I
I'm doing this
understand
for
it,
all
yeah.
87 counties. We're all in the same boat. And other counties are starting to pick up and do the same thing, bill the commissioner, and they're getting the same song and dance. The money's not there to pay it. So anyway.
Thank you for that clarification, Sheriff.
Yeah. So the next one is our patrol. It's our off-duty detail rate. We're at $75 an hour plus mileage with the wage increase for 2023 and the DDA increase, market analysis increase. We're bumping that up to $80 an hour plus mileage. And basically most of our off-duty detail stuff is transports of mental individuals that come into the hospital's trying to find a bed, and we're hauling them to Fargo, East Grand Forks, Sioux Falls, Duluth, you name it, we're going there. We've gone all the way into Wisconsin, where they found a bed, and so that's all reimbursable, mileage and time we get back. We do come out ahead a little bit because that $80 is based on the captain's time and a half fee, overtime fee. So most the ones taking it are road deputies and a lieutenant here and there will take transports. Any questions on that one?
Okay.
So yeah, every year in the budget, when you see that high overtime figure, the most of that is reimbursable overtime. The other stuff we bill for is like the Mankato Marathon, the River Ramble thing, the other bike, whatever they call that one, and few events here and there that take place where they want one or two law enforcement there for security purposes.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question? Does that rate include factoring in benefits or just wage?
I think that's just wage that's factored in.
And so it's something for the board to consider because, you know, you can figure 30-35% above that number for benefit costs. And
Sure.
so just something to keep in mind maybe.
Down in our records division, Jeff actually thought of this coming in as the new sheriff and is issuing out permits and not charging a fee to veterans or active military personnel. And that goes all the way from getting the permit, which our fee is $100. It's maximum of what statute allows. And that $100 basically covers our cost of doing the backgrounds, the paperwork cost, and then that permit's good for 5 years, but every year we have to go back in and re-background these individuals. So it's an ongoing constant cost of that $100 that we need to do. I know the account in that area is getting pretty high. The other area we can use those fees for besides staff wages and stuff like that is if somebody takes me to court over a permit that they didn't get because it's been denied. If I win, they have to pay their attorney fees. If they win, then we have to pay the attorney and court fees out of that money. So that's about all it can be used for. So anyway, with the renewal and then the other fees that come as you get after you've gotten your permit of renewing it and stuff, we talked about it and agreed that it would be free to veterans and active military personnel. And obviously to get it, they'd have to show their military card papers or whatever they have. Records, processing fee, we do a lot of processing paperwork for the courts and send off to other counties and stuff like that. We weren't charging any fee for the courts, it was a freebie. We checked around other counties, they don't do that. They do charge the courts fees and understand their state, we're county, and so we're kind of going in line with what other counties are doing. And in line with our county processing fees. So we're adding this $65 flat rate for papers out of the courts to be processed. And then another area is vehicles that are impounded in our impound lot at the county shop. When the case is over, it's deemed that the individual can get their car back out of impound. We make contact with them, our records people do. They set up an appointment to meet them up at county shop to get their vehicle. There's times when the people fail to show And that's taken our staff time away from the office up there, sitting around waiting for them. So we want to add on a $10 no-show fee. And then also thumb drives. I guess we want to treat them the same as discs. If somebody wants some information, we have to download on a disc form. If they want it on a thumb drive, we want to charge $10 fee for that thumb drive, the same as the disc. And I believe that is all the changes that we're asking for an increase in fees. Yes.
Okay.
So if you got any questions, I'd be certainly glad, and Jeff, to answer them.
I have a question. Do we know what the city of Mankato charges per hour when they send people out to do off-duty detail?
I do not. They don't do a lot of it, believe it or not. You know, like a lot of events that they have that take place in Mankato, we usually end up getting a call to help fill in that off-duty time because they can't get enough officers to sign up and work them. But what they charge of those that do, I don't know what their fee is. I imagine it's at least time and a half for whatever their officers are making. Their officers make more than their deputies, so I'm sure their fee's higher.
Would you be interested in supporting $100 an hour for that, or are you comfortable with the 80, or would you like to see a little more? I mean, it'd be nice to get the benefits, but if you're comfortable with that,
I
and you
know
got some.
Phil, Bob sent me an email. Phil had was doing up a contract with City of Mankato for detox runs, and I think the rate was 96 something on that contract. So yeah, right around $100. We did talk to Phil, and I think he was going to go back and discuss it with the city because quite frankly, experience tells me they're going to have a hard time finding somebody to come in off duty to haul somebody to a detox center somewhere.
So in that case, we would
But
charge,
then it's going to fall down on us.
that case, we would charge the city of Mankato.
No,
I mean,
the fee comes out of Phil's budget, so he's just looking for somebody to do these transports. And if they were out of Mankato, then he was looking at the Mankato Police Department to pay them to make these transports, trying to get by as cheap as he can. When we talked, we'd already set this at 80, and he was more than happy to turn our direction. Not that we want to take it on, but you know, he's looking at it the same as I. If we're a little cheaper in Mankato, he can save money out of his budget by giving us a call and using them as a backup if we don't have staff to do it.
So some of it's internal money that's moving around. It's not just all external money.
Right.
Okay, well, let's keep that in mind. Maybe when Jeff's reviewing these on a yearly basis, might not be a bad idea instead of doing them every several years, to keep that in mind.
And you know, quite frankly, to be honest with you, all these mental transports out of the hospital, at the beginning of this, they came to us and we did have a contract with them. Now I don't believe we even have a written contract with them because they went and decided they were going to use their ambulance service to haul these mentals, where the ambulance people didn't want to do it. And what ended up happening is then they were always out of the county transport and weren't here to take ambulance calls. And it's just kind of, in its own nature, has come back to us. I think they do have a contract with another private company, I think I've heard, that also they can call on if we can't do it. But you know, as they look at it, and I guess as we look at it, hauling some of these people, just not every Tom, Dick, and Harry can say, hey, I'll come up and get them and run them to where we need them to go. They don't have the training and handling and dealing with these individuals.
And this is happening every day.
Really?
Yes.
Every day.
We've already got one this morning. So,
Yeah.
So it's a common.
We've had sometimes.
Every day. Sometimes 4 or 5 a day.
Five.
Some 4 or 5.
Really?
Yeah, it's often. It's quite a bit.
Jeez.
Wow.
Okay.
So that's our fee schedule. The highlighted ones are the ones that ask your support on to make these increases, so that's where we're at.
Well, I think it's a great idea for the veterans stuff. I think that's awesome. I just looked it up. If I looked up the right number, we got $561,000 in that account, so
Yeah.
we don't need to keep charging
And then,
everybody.
not to interrupt, Commissioner, but Michelle in records said they have to send the BCA $10 and the state $5. And then she said, wanted to know if we should charge the veterans $15, and I said, no, we just take it out of account.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. All right.
All right, I would move approval of the sheriff's, or you got it, Vance, go ahead, I'll second it.
Either way, it goes through. I'll move approval.
Vance moves approval. Second by Kip. Any discussion? It's all good. Better. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Appreciate you being here.
See you tomorrow.
The off-duty one, I'll let Jeff revisit that for next year if he wants to increase that. I'll let Jeff take care of that.
Yeah, with all of our stuff going on too, so that number will change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I could take one moment to
Sure.
express my gratitude to y'all. I really appreciate working with you all over the years. It's been a fantastic run for me, my time with the county. My goal when I got into law enforcement in Blue River County, I started out in the city of Amboy for almost 2 years, went to Lake Crystal and worked with Vance for a couple of years.
Sorry about that.
You got out of that.
Years
Like
too
years.
long.
And you're still around after that
Yeah,
experience.
no, that's, well, he covers it up with that mustache. He's got a little scar up here too. But my goal and dream was to get on the Blue River County Sheriff's Office. And after about 4 or 5 attempts, I made it. And it's really has been my dream job since I got on. Never once in my mind had it ever entered me to run for sheriff. That's something I got talked into when I ran by deputies and their wives. And after about 4 times of saying no, I finally caved in and said, okay, I'll do it. I know why we need to do this. But I will tell you the truth, when I woke up the next morning, I looked at my wife and I said, okay, we all accomplished what we needed to do. How do I get out of it? Because believe me, I'm telling you the honest truth, I did not want to be sheriff. And all through that election, I did not want to be sheriff. That wasn't my goal at that time in life. But it's worked out, and I've had nothing but fun and pleasure for the most part as the sheriff for the last 28 years. And I was at least smart enough to surround myself with good people.
Yes.
And it made it really, really easy for me. So, and I want to thank you for all your support you've shown the sheriff's office throughout the years, and other board members that have been here in the past. And I really appreciate it.
Thanks for your
Well,
service.
you've done a
Thank you,
great
Brad.
job,
Thank
Sheriff.
you, Mike.
Thank you, Sheriff.
The sheriff and I got elected the same year, me as mayor and him as the sheriff, and he actually came to our first mayors and clerks meeting in Eagle Lake, and we had 100% participation, and he was the speaker. So he was just fresh out of the chute. That was a January meeting,
I was no public speaker.
and you did a great job. So thank you, Sheriff,
Thank
for all
you.
your service.
And that continued with Sheriff Wurzel was at the first mayors and clerks
That's right.
meeting.
right.
So
That's right.
kept that history alive and accurate, so.
And I hope you keep showing him the same support you've shown me.
Well, that
Certainly
works.
will.
Sorry, guys, but I've always felt like I was the favored one. Even over you, Patrick.
That's not saying much, Sheriff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Sheriff.
All right. We got next Lisa with finance.
Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Good morning. Nice to know that your favorite's going to be leaving at the end of the year. So there's a spot open.
There you go.
And I'm the next one out, so the timing was great.
Yep.
I've saved up a few items to go through with you this morning. The first one is the master service agreement and statement of work for our auditors, auditing December 31st, 2020. This is the 4th year that we'll be retaining them, and we've really enjoyed working with them. Every year, the first year is always a little bit difficult. When we started with them and went away from the state auditors, but the last year I felt like we were really off and running, and the timing, the amount of time it takes to do the audit was all reduced, so I was very happy. I'm very happy with their service.
All right, I would move approval if that's what you're looking for.
Yes, I need approval.
Okay.
Authorizing the board chair and the county administrator to enter into the agreement and the statement of work for
I'll
auditing
second it.
services.
It's been moved and second. We got to do it for each one, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. All right, we got that one.
The second item is something that needs to be done per state statute every year, which is authorizing the finance director and the assistant finance director to make the electronic fund transfers. This is a very cost-saving idea. It saves on checks, it saves on time to make payments by ACH.
Move
Okay,
approval.
It's been moved by Kevin.
I'll second it.
By Patty. Moved in second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. And
Thank
we have
you.
your last request.
So the last one is we are updating the capital asset policy. We have a new accounting standard, GASB 87, regarding leases. They are now looking at those different, where it's a right to use, and there's some leases that we're going to need to capitalize. Right now we have like 3 to 4 this year. So we need to update that and put that new information. We're also looking at threshold, so we don't have to capitalize some of the immaterial leases, which we did have quite a few of those immaterial ones. Next year I'll be bringing this up again because there'll be another accounting standards where we'll have to look at capitalizing subscriptions to software. So you'll see me again in a year on that new accounting standard. So I'm asking for approval of the changes to our capital asset policy.
Okay. We have a
I'll move it.
Patty moves, and there's a second.
Second.
For the asset policy. Okay, on discussion, all those in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries.
Thank you.
Lisa.
There you
That
go.
was- That wasn't so
Thank you.
hard, yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Grab a donut. Okay.
Morning, John.
Yep, now we got.
Morning, John.
John,
Good morning.
come on up.
See, now you're our favorite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know.
Whoever sits in front of us at the time,
We
Thank
don't.
you so much.
Phil will be coming up.
Everybody's-
He'll be our favorite
No,
when he's.
no.
Phil who?
Talk about the here and now. All right, good morning, Commissioners. I bring to you today a resolution regarding the formula used to fund community corrections in the state of Minnesota. So over the past 2 decades, Minnesota has become the state with the lowest level of corrections funding in the nation, while having some of the highest numbers of people placed on community supervision. And so this resolution is asking the legislature to pass a new formula that will provide transparency and also adequately fund community supervision. And so what you'll see as part of the resolution as well is also a 2-page overview of probation funding in the state of Minnesota. And so it covers the way the 3 delivery systems are funded right now within the state, both with the Department of Corrections and our partners in county probation delivery systems included there. And so this document does cover, like I said, the funding mechanism in the state of Minnesota. The problem is it's confusing and it's also underfunded. And so you'll see 3 separate ways of funding the probation delivery systems in the state. And with each one of them has its own issues. And again, Minnesota is last in the nation when it comes to general funding or general fund spending on corrections. And so the proposal or the solution is a workload study. And so currently we do have in the state of Minnesota around 200 probation officers that are participating in a workload study around the state that will work then to
address the funding solution of what it looks like to fund probation in the state of Minnesota. And so through the workload study, they'll be coming up with a capitated rate that will be able to be something that is utilized across the state and something that will be utilized consistently across the delivery systems in order to both have that transparency and also adequately fund probation in the state of Minnesota. So this is something that has been coordinated and organized by AMC, who is the author of the document that provided you as well. And so I'm just respectfully requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve the resolution related to the Community Supervision Work Group.
Thanks, John. Yeah, it's overdue.
I would move to approve.
Vance moves. And
Second.
Patty seconds. Okay.
All the years that I've been working with CCA, working with John, working with back when Josh was on the director, we've always had this issue.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if the state actually addressed this and got it taken care of.
And we really had a good opportunity with the work from the Council of State Governments and the Justice Reinvestment Initiative that took place last year. We really thought that was a good opportunity for us. Obviously, nothing happened legislatively, but we took the tenets and the recommendations that came from CSG and are trying to implement those things still. And so this is just a continuation of the work that we have been doing and we'll try to continue to do. This is just one piece of that, is we need to fix the funding formula. We've known it for a long time. Like you said, we've known this for years. And so, you know, we didn't want to just, you know, kind of push that aside. We want to continue to emphasize the importance of addressing it. So yes, it's been an issue. We still feel like we can work to address it though. And one of the recommendations was that workload study. If you can provide a workload study that shows and you're able to develop some sort of rate, then maybe you can come up with that consistent and transparent funding formula for the state.
Okay, I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
It's been
long overdue, like you said.
Yes, I don't want to show my age, but it's been, I think actually more than 2 decades with how slow it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I think we have the motion in front of us, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Thank you, John. Good luck.
Thank you, John.
Commissioners.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yep. All right. Guess what's next? Yes, Phil, Human Services.
Yeah, that's right. Second. I'm running for vice favorite.
Our next favorite.
If you're running for favorite, by bringing us a big workload, looks like you got us today.
That's true. I was going to say here's the tradition of lots of volume from Human Services. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't want to forget to wish you all happy holidays and happy New Year. Appreciate your support. Like Brad said, that was neat to be here for that. I do, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, have a lot of action items that I would like to review for you, and I'll try to do it briefly. If you have any questions, by all means, ask away. The first section of our action items is financial assistance, and we have 2 items under that category. AmeriCare Mobility Van. See, I can't say it, so they go by AMV, as we all know. AMV provides transportation to our medical assistance clients for medical and dental appointments, and then they can pick up prescriptions using this service as well. It is mandated by the state. The state has not changed the rates from 22 to 23, and the term of this contract is January 1st of 23 through December 31st of 23. And then the second one under financial assistance is Next Chapter Technology, also known as CaseWorks, and this is a workforce addition. You'll see in the narrative that this contract allows us to cross over between our direct services from financial workers to job counselors, who is provided through MRCI. And it really is about documents being fluidly transferred back and forth. It's easier for us, but it's also easier for the public to be able to have this happen so that they don't have to run back and forth or wait for things to cross over in inter-office mail. This addition is $52,100, which includes the licensing and the implementation and administrative expenses. It is going to be paid out of this year's consolidated MFIP grant. And the ongoing cost, just to give the board an idea of that, is $12,885, and we do expect that there be cost of living increases for that year over year. The installation will happen or start to occur once we have approval, and then it will be completed through April of next year. The licensing agreement term is January 1st of 23 all the way through December 31st of 27. The next section is Children and Family Services, and Greater Minnesota provides our family group decision-making contract. This is a really important contract to us. There's only one provider that offers this service in the region, and so we do have a regional contract for this, but this is the idea of getting the whole clan together. If it's family, neighbors, who is ever involved in a child's life when they're struggling, and saying, how do we build a really robust network of support around them, and what are options if we do have to place a child either short-term, long-term. So we practice smart, if you will. So there's a lot of passion around this. I think really good outcomes and evidence-based practice, and we use it in both child protection and children's mental health, and John uses it in the corrections department for the juvenile folks as well. It just talks about accomplishing the case goals, the permanency of the placements that I talked about, and safety planning. It's a one-year contract. The rate went up $50 per session, or per session that we have with the families. $1,380 is the new amount. And the term is January 1st of 23 through December 31st of 23. Carlson Counseling, also for us, direct service for child protection and providing parenting capacity evaluations. It is focused. There's a battery of things that parent needs to do when they're involved with ourselves and the courts, and it really helps guide the plan for reunification to have an objective sense of how the parents are doing, what are their capacities, are there any concerns about safety, and then we report that to the courts and include all that information in the case plan. This service is it's a two-year agreement, increased $100 to $1,900 per evaluation, and the term is January 1st of 23 through December 31st of 24. Next section is our community services. So this is Julie Stevenmer, and she has detox and YLP and children's mental health. The detox component is represented here this month. Brown County Evaluation Center, which we're all very familiar with, and I know Commissioner is involved with the board, fulfilling our state mandate for folks that live in our county as well as anybody detained in our county. So this is that weird detox rule that anybody picked up here is our responsibility. Brown County Evaluation Center is our primary resource. We're considered a member county, and that really means that we will use them first if there's bed space available. The per diem, $447 per day in 22 and $460 for 23, so net rate increase of 2.9%. The term January 1st of 23 through December 31st of 23. The detox transport, which has a lot to do with what Brad was talking to the board about this morning, is our contract to allow transports when somebody is picked up and either needs to be transported to New Ulm or elsewhere. There's a 5% increase from 91.92 to what Brad said was 96.54 per hour. Based on Mankato's wage and benefit adjustment. We also then pay mileage for time on the road at the IRS rate. The term is January 1st of 23 through December 31st of 23. The only addition, I appreciate what Brad said, and it aligns with where we're at. I am meeting with Director Vocal and Matt DeRose tomorrow and just talking about the volume management and saying where are they at and can we tip it our way. I mean, that obviously I think one of the commissioners said, kind of keeps the money in-house. And so there's some efficiencies and preference in that. And they took the meeting right away, so I hope that means that they're open to this idea. They didn't put me off, so we'll see how that goes tomorrow. I would maybe just ask the board's grace on if we do have a cost of living adjustment, as we were talking about, as the Commissioner raised with our pay scales, we might need to look at a mid-year addendum too. That wouldn't be hard to do, especially because it's in-house, if the board's supportive of that. And then the last one under Community Services and Detox is Central Minnesota Mental Health Center. This is fourth in line in our backup, and as I believe our whole board knows, there are times, I'll pick on homecoming, where we get very full and we do not have bed space. The other thing that's happening, you'll see that in this contract, is people are being held in detoxes now for commitments, which can go on and get very costly. And so I will just say to the board, this is our most expensive option, so we have it fourth, obviously our primary relationship with New Ulm. This facility, Central Minnesota Mental Health Center, is in Waite Park, Minnesota. Our order waterfall is Brown County, then Zumbro in Rochester, then Woodland Centers in Wilmer, and this would be our fourth contract. It's $600 per day for detox. If you're not a member county or don't have a contract with them, and that's doubled, it's $1,200. So that's why I feel it's prudent to bring it. And then you'll see the commitment holds. We're $560 a day, and now they're saying it's $1,000 a day, a 78% increase. So that's the pressure, the primary detox mission to sober people up and get them on the door and hopefully get on a better path to holding people in for commitments. And we hear the same story in the jails, and we really struggle when somebody needs a locked facility, or in this case, a secure facility. Detoxes often aren't locked. It depends on how they're licensed. Public health. Minnesota Department of Health, our immunization registry. Our registry is named MTRAC. It is part of our community health board that this falls under for all of our immunization activities, which really is to prevent illness that can be prevented by vaccines. Each county in our registry contributes additional county levy funding to support the scope beyond the grant. You'll see the listing of the counties that are involved: ourselves, Brown, Missouri, Nicollet, Watonwan, and Waseca. This is a renewal. Our amount did go up from MDH, $44,956 and 24 cents, which is a 8.7% increase in funding. So that helps. The term of this grant, January of 23 through December 31st of 23. The next one, also under public health, is Blue Cross Blue Shield. Care coordination. Care coordination is an awful lot like case management. They're very similar, just different title, slightly different responsibilities. We've historically received our model of billing as 15-minute increments. Kelly has worked really hard with Blue Cross to try to negotiate a per diem or per member per month model. I believe this will increase our revenues. I conservatively maybe $50,000 up to double that if we practice smart and it works for us the way we think it should. So it's a shift in how we bill, and Kelly did go back and forth with Blue Cross a little bit. Our previous 15-minute unit was $25 and 46 cents, and our new per diem rate is $135. If you do 4 units, it's $101.84. But if we get paid that $135 no matter how long we meet with them. So there could be an efficiency there. In public health, it's rare to have like a full hour session. So even if we did, we'll still gain a little revenue. But if we're less than that, I think we have a lot more time that we can save as well. So again, practicing smart. This is one of those, even though case management is a mandated service in most of our disciplines, This one, we do have a choice to do this, or Blue Cross is on the hook to try to find somebody to do it if we're not willing to do it. So that's a factor for the future. And I think that's it for that item in that section. And then 2 other items: adult behavioral health, Department of Human Services, our community support grant. This is kind of the smallest narrative, but one of the biggest items for us, because it really is our base funding for case management and the clubhouse and other things that are covered through the initiative. It's a 2-year agreement for community support, and it meets our statutory requirements to serve adults with SPMI, which we talk about a lot, serious and persistent mental illness. There are 5 diagnoses that are included in the SPMI category, and so it is those diagnoses that don't, quote, go away. It's something that you do manage as part of your as part of the individual's makeup. And the grant amount, $330,223 per year, and it's a 2-year grant, so $664.46. The term, January 1st of 23 through December 31st of 24. And then finally, for all of you, the advisory committees, which are very important to us. We have really focused on being really purposeful about getting community feedback in some areas. The mental health consortium effort to do the suicide prevention and trauma-informed stuff at the Civic Center recently. We ran that by our advisory committee, had a special session, said, what do you guys think are priorities? And they came up with a list for some of the money we had left for the year. So it's a really healthy process. I know historically we've had the chair of our advisory committee come here, and so through COVID, we've obviously stopped that, but if the board's open to that, I'd like to kind of bring that back up and have them join as well and report out from that voice. I think it's a nice compliment. You'll see what's attached, and my request is to ratify these appointments of people volunteering. As you all know, and you'll see on the very last slide that's for the board's benefit, volunteerism is tough right now, and so if you do know people that would be willing to serve, there are vacancies. The other thing, I'm skipping to the end, in the chart that shows your district and what openings are there, you'll see back up in the regarding title that it says not including youth voices. That's another thing we're very open to. We've had success with either high school students or college students that would just like to be on any board and just be part of that. So if you know anybody, Noelle is our contact for that, and she's really good at kind of ushering people in if they're willing to serve. So the action item, Mr. Chair, last action item is approval of the advisory committee and task force appointments. They're listed. I'll spare the board reading them all, but if there are any questions about the 4 individuals for appointments and then the list of individuals for the reappointments, I would take those now, but ask the board would approve those appointments.
Okay. Thanks, Phil.
I'll move the approval.
Approval, that would be
All the action items.
all the action items, yeah.
And the appointments, okay.
And appointments too, okay.
I will second it.
Seconded by Vance. Action items and appointments. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Good job, see?
A lot of work there,
Yeah.
Phil.
There is, and we, I think Bob started going to 2-year contracts, the ones that lend themselves that way, so that's helped, because we had even more volume at times. I remember run out of gas about halfway through. I'm trying to show enthusiasm, but it's a way you feel like I'm just reading to the board, so that wasn't too bad.
No, it's good.
Thanks much. It's nice to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you much. And
Thanks, Phil.
look forward to New Year.
Tell your
Thank
staff,
you.
thanks for all their work this year.
I will do that.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
All right. Do we want to continue yet? Want to just keep going for a little bit? Or on a break?
I'm good.
Everybody's good?
I'm good.
Everybody okay?
Of course, you're the chair, so.
Well, I'm good too. All right, on that case, then, I guess we have board minutes.
I'll move the minutes.
Been moved by Kip. Second by Vance. Discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. And we have the bills.
I'll move the bills.
Second.
Vance will move the bills. Kevin will second. Any questions? You know, we haven't stumped Bob for a while. I kind of feel bad falling down on that. So, nobody has any questions then?
I don't, no.
All right,
None that already been answered.
okay. Then,
You
all
only
those-
got 1 week there, so.
yeah, it's true, it's not as many. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Okay, then we've got the, what, we gotta deal with our adjustments here? Salary adjustments.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item number 9 in your packet is a resolution regarding the 2023 adopted levy. This resolution is required by Minnesota statute certifying the 2023 property tax levy. As you're well aware, we began working on the budget in April of this year, so it is a long process. Meetings with department heads were held in June. Work sessions with the county board occurred throughout the summer, resulting in a proposed levy of $42,979,178. The proposed levy is a 6% increase over the levy that was assessed in 2022. And so I'm recommending the 2023 property tax levy of $42,979,178 be certified to the Blue Earth County Finance Director.
Okay, any questions? No?
I'll move it.
It's been moved by Kip, second
Second.
by Kevin. Discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carries.
You know, this went through really fast, but
Yeah.
we've been working on this since May.
Right.
So, I mean, we've had numerous meetings and, you know.
Okay. All right. All right, we
Mr.
have-
Chair and Commissioners,
Next.
item number 11 in your packet is the 2023 budget. Minnesota statute 375A.06 requires the county administrator to prepare and submit an annual budget and long-range capital expenditure program to the county board. As I mentioned previously, staff have been working on the budget since April this year, and it has been reviewed numerous times with the board. As such, I'm recommending approval of a resolution regarding the 2023 proposed budget, which projects expenditures at $119,089,669.
Okay. Any questions, any, we have a motion to approve then?
I'll move the budget.
Vance moves the budget,
I'll second it.
and Patty seconded. Any questions? None? Looks complete. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. All right.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 11 in your packet is a memo regarding salary adjustments. As you're probably aware, our practice has generally been to approve general wage adjustments for all non-union employees, supervisors, and department directors that are the same as those that are negotiated with our labor unions. This year, we've actually worked with David Drone and Associates to complete a countywide compensation and classification study. This was done for a number of reasons, including compliance with pay equity and to ensure our county employees are paid in a competitive way, especially given some changes that have been occurring in the labor market. The goal is to implement an updated classification and compensation system that accurately reflects the work of each position while allowing Blue Earth County to attract, retain, and equitably compensate our employees. And so recommending the implementation of that, including adjusting the anniversary date and the step placement of employees at the top end of our pay scale. That is a slight change from the original proposal, but looking at those employees that have been with the county for some duration, I'm trying to reset those anniversary dates to January 1st. So that will be part of this overall recommendation. So starting with the flat dollar increase of $1.50 per hour for all non-union employees. And then we want to implement this classification and compensation study and again, make that all effective for the employees covered under the non-union category effective January 1st of this year. In addition, also as part of this memo recommending salaries for elected officials effective January 1st at the amounts listed there. County commissioners at $46,827, county attorney at $179,254.40, and the county sheriff at $169,915.20. You happy to answer any questions the board might have?
Any questions, Bob?
I'd move approval.
You move approval, it's all of them, all of it?
Yep.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Any more discussion? And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Thanks, Bob. And
Well, item number 12 in your packet is a memo regarding the per diem rate. We have a policy that says each year the county board will establish the per diem rate for boards and commissions eligible for per diems. Current per diems are set at $100 per day, calculated with the $60 per half day and $100 for full day. I'm recommending the same rates for 2023.
So moved.
okay, it's been moved by Kevin,
Second.
second by Kip. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. All right, then
Item number 13 in your packet is renewals of tobacco licenses. You'll see a list of businesses that have submitted their license fee, including the Casey's General Store in Eagle Lake, as well as in Mapleton, DNR Marketing in Mankato, Eagle Express of Eagle Lake, Maple Mart in Mapleton, the Mapleton Municipal Liquor Store, and then Freiberg Management in St. Clair.
okay.
Move to approve.
It's been moved by Vance, second.
Second.
Second by Patty. And a discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item 14 in your packet is a joint powers agreement for the All Seasons Arena. This is a result of a lot of discussions recently about some improvements that are needed at the All Seasons Arena. But we realized as we started digging into some issues, because some of the partners were concerned about having to find resources to fund some improvements, that we didn't have a very good organizational document anymore. It originally existed as a joint powers. It kind of, that original document sort of faded away, and it was operated under a bylaws document that really wasn't appropriate, quite frankly. And so we thought in order to set the organization up to move forward with these improvements, that we needed to reestablish the Joint Powers Board, and under a Joint Powers Agreement that reflected some of the provisions that not only reflect how the organization is operating, but also kind of reflects some of MCIT's recommendations in terms of liability protection for the organization. And so I'll quickly just run through some of the changes that are included in this Joint Powers Agreement. The big thing is the change in the partners. We've previously had 5 partners with the 3 that are listed there, County of Blue Earth, City of Mankato, and City of North Mankato. We also had the City of Skyline and the City of Eagle Lake that were operating as partners. Both Skyline and Eagle Lake have now indicated they wish to no longer be a partner in the joint powers. There's no change in the purpose of the organization, so I think that's an important note to make. Then under governance, just want to point out section 4.5, the voting, which is really the quorum section. Because Mankato and North Mankato carry a larger percentage of the overall cost sharing under the joint powers agreement, they felt strongly that they needed to be present for any quorum purposes when financial issues are being discussed. And so in the end, we decided all three partners should be at the table when financial considerations are being addressed. It feels a little weird with only three partners that we're talking about quorums like that, but if additional partners ever should join in the future, that language will make a little more sense. Also point out, well, it looks like we still have the two 4.5 sections, but 4.5.1 does speak to the chair and the chair-elect. With this new joint powers agreement, the chair will change each year, or at least be voted on each year. And so they've operated with the chair kind of running until they don't want to be chair anymore, basically. And
retire.
so this will be a little more of a rotating chair agreement. Section 5.3, just point out that contracts that All Seasons needs to enter into that exceed $25,000 will need approval by the three partners. That amount used to be $10,000, but with increased costs over time, we felt that a little higher cap was appropriate. 5.7 starts to get into how costs are allocated between the partners, and so we are using Independent School District 77's boundaries to come up with a population spread. And so on the next page, you'll see the different percentages for the proportionate shares, with City of Mankato bearing almost 70% of the cost shares, City of North Mankato at 22%, and Blue Earth County at just under 8%. And then I just draw your attention to section 8.1 on page 249. Withdrawal from this agreement does require a 1-year advance notice. And then 8.2 basically says any outstanding debt responsibilities must be fulfilled by the withdrawing partner. So just wanted the board to be aware of some of those provisions, but we're bringing it forward for the board's consideration today. My understanding is that Mankato has approved. North Mankato was taking it up last night. I haven't heard for sure that they passed, but I assume they did.
In the paper, yeah. We don't see it in the paper yet. Yeah, it was this morning. Yeah.
I will point out that, like I said, there are plans to make some improvements and repairs to the facility. So while our initial cost associated with this agreement is probably in the neighborhood of $3,000 a year for our annual combined $40,000 contribution, it's really that debt that may be taken on for the repairs to the ice plant and to the building is where our costs will be significantly more, and so we could be looking at $300,000-$400,000 ongoing, not an annual commitment, but to pay off that debt.
Thank you, Bob.
I would move to approve.
Oh, well, Vance moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kip. Any discussion?
A lot of work went into that, Bob.
Yeah.
Thank you for all that.
Bob did a lot of work on with the city and yeah. it'll be a little different, and I think it'll be better for the future, and it's an asset that is kind of underrated, and of course it's getting outdated, but anyway, ice is expensive. We already know how much fun they have downtown, so anyway, appreciate all you done, Bob, too. So I guess we have the motion in front of us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Thanks, Bob. We got
Item number 15 in your packet then is the financial status report for November 30th. One more month remaining in our fiscal year. Total revenues sit at just under $104 million against expenses of close to $111 million. So we're at about a $6.8 million deficit at this point. We had planned on a certain level of deficit, and we're a little bit above that at this point in time. A lot of that's coming from those contracts and fees line where we have some carryover of projects that we received some turn back funds on, and different things of that nature. So not entirely surprising that we're in a deficit position at this point in time. Some areas to point out, you'll see under the revenue category, our local tax levy sits at a little over $40 million. That's slightly below our budget. We'll hope that the remainder comes in December to fill that out. Also point to the transportation sales tax. At the end of November, we were at about $7.4 million. We were budgeting very conservatively given some of the economic issues this time last year. We weren't sure that our continued growth in that local option sales tax would continue, but it clearly has, and so we'll be over $8 million by the end of this year compared to that budget of $6 million. So that continues to be a strong revenue source for us. On the flip side, our interest on investments, and that is not performing as well as we had hoped. Clearly, with the instability in some of the markets and stuff, we're seeing some impact there that our return on our investments is not where we had hoped it would be. On the expense side of things, outside of that contracts and fees line, everything lines up pretty well with the budget. We did issue a number of debt service payments. They typically come this time of year, and so you'll see that we've made those payments. On the enterprise fund, or the Ponderosa landfill, you'll see that our total revenues there are at $4.4 million against about $2 million in expense. Again, this is one of those years where we have not invested heavily in equipment at the landfill, nor have we had to build a new cell. So we're building some reserves there to help in future years for those types of expenses.
So Bob, on that note, our contract and fees will change now starting next year. Is that the line I should be looking at with us doing the services ourselves?
Yes, and Mike will be coming to the January 10th work session to give you an update. There has been some interesting developments in terms of trying to continue with a reduced contract.
Okay.
I think we found a solution, but our current vendors indicated they're no longer willing to do that service, so we've quickly scrambled to find someone else potentially to do that work for us. But yes, that number will be down from where it has been, and we'll have a new salary line to include.
Right, so that was my next question. So we will build something else in there,
yes,
to cover our costs. Okay,
yep.
Thank you.
The second page then shows our cash and investment balances. You'll see towards the top our total available funds sits at $68 million compared to a 6-month operating needs of about $52 million. Our total county funds, more towards the bottom of the page, sits at $128 million. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have on any of the financial status report items.
Any more questions, Bob?
I don't have any more.
Looks good, so, all right. Guess we had a vote on that?
No, it's just
No,
informational
it's all report,
items.
right? So I got it. It says a report, so, all right. And we have, that's it. Then we're down to, I guess, I don't think our committee reports would be too long, but since our last meeting was just a week. Let's start with the new person on
We
the.
started with the new person last time.
You're still
Did I
new,
start with
though.
you last time?
You're still new.
Well, you're still new.
You're still new.
I've got one.
It
Could be years before you're not new anymore.
Yeah, we can change if the burden's too great for you.
I attended the board meeting and the employee appreciation and truth and taxation. So that's all I've done since our last meeting.
Yep, all right. I don't know, anybody, Kip?
I'll go.
Yep,
That's fine.
go ahead.
Yes, I was also at in the work session, a brief
Oh,
work session we
work
had,
session,
yeah,
that's right.
to talk about the planning and zoning stuff with the highway department, which I thought went really well. The employee appreciation, I thought we had a good turnout. Thank you, Stephanie and Jesse, for all your work putting that together for us. We appreciate that. Budget hearing, I've been on the board, that was my 20th budget hearing. I don't think we've ever had, other than Will was here, but I don't think we've never had anyone else here other than staff, but I could be wrong. We usually always had 2 or 3 people in the audience. Nobody ever testified, but I think if Will wouldn't have shown up, I think that would have been the first time, but my memory isn't all that
Will
good
was here.
sometimes. Will was here, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
he was here.
And then I had some statewide emergency communication board stuff. We had a full board meeting last Thursday. I had a couple items to report on from my legislative committee meeting. And we had MVAC meeting last night, our EMP meeting. I did some Head Start stuff and Amanda's review, and everything's going really well there. So that's my report, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Kip. Kevin?
As mentioned, was a work session, employee appreciation, the budget hearing. On the 14th, the Rural Minnesota Energy Board met here in the courthouse. We hosted Senator Frentz as we talked about some of the rural energy items. On the 15th, I had our 12th and final Le Sueur One Watershed, One Plan Policy Committee meeting. On the 16th, the Rural Minnesota Energy Board, the PACE Committee, we had our 3rd committee meeting of the year. And today, this morning, we started with an AMC drainage stakeholders meeting, Zoom call. A lot of concern with the DNR proposed legislation as it's going to add cost and time to drainage projects. They want to add an additional hearing, have 90 days to respond to that hearing before we can start the process. So I had nearly 40 stakeholders on the phone this morning talking about that. We've got kind of a small construction window to do drainage repairs and improvements in this state, and concern on what that 90-day delay will do to those projects. And you know, there's already plenty of time for public input and things like that. That's not prevented, but and probably the biggest concern is this proposed legislation has not been through the drainage work group and vetted to come to consensus. So it's kind of changing precedent a little bit. So a lot of concern out there with the different counties as well as other stakeholders. That concludes my report.
Thank you for that, Kevin. Vance?
Well, the same stuff, last Tuesday, the work session, employee appreciation, the budget hearing. On Wednesday, I had a Highway 14 partnership in Nicollet. On Thursday, we had a TDS board meeting. And then yesterday, I did a NACO Arts and Culture Zoom.
Okay, thanks, Vance. Well, I don't have much to add with the work session and the employee appreciation budget hearing, but I do remember my first open budget when we had one person from my area, yeah. But they moved a few years later. No, it wasn't because of that. Anyway.
Wasn't As the new commissioner.
That concludes then our meeting today. So, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Recess.
Recess, actually, excuse me.
Move to recess.
Yeah. Move to recess. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kip, I guess, all right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Recess then.